who post a job on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. ZipRecruiter, the smartest way to hire. And right now, you can try ZipRecruiter for free. That's right, free at ZipRecruiter.com/radio. That's ZipRecruiter.com/radio. ZipRecruiter.com/radio.
From the RowPaint.com studio, local sports talk every weekday afternoon at 3. Idaho Sports Talk with Prater and the Ballgame, 1350 AM, KTIK, Nampa, Boise, and on 95.3 FM. Sports Radio The Ticket, a Cumulus media station. This hour of Idaho Sports Talk is sponsored by Ada County Paramedics. Emergencies are scary, but with Vital Ride, your ambulance bill won't be. 1-year membership only $75 and covers your entire household. After your insurance kicks in, most members owe nothing. See AdaCountyParamedics.org and click on Vital Ride.
What's going on, and welcome. Hour number 2 on this terrific Friday edition of what we hope is your favorite sports talk radio program. Beeler is in for Prater. Prater on the ball game. Idaho Sports Talk. JP, myself, Johnny Ballgame. Quick first hour, Robert Allen Beeler. Was a quick first hour. And if you were looking quickly on our video with Bronco Nation News and BJ Rains, we've got Johnny Shorts. BJ, you can tell that Johnny is ready for vacation right now.
I'm surprised he was here. I figured he'd be getting another mani-pedi today. I don't know.
I recommend it, BJ. Don't knock it till you try it, my friend.
Getting it's one thing, but bragging about it on social media is another. But hey, whatever, man. Yeah, you do look like you got the swimsuit on already. You're ready. I don't know where you're going for vacation, but you're out of here, man.
You know how it goes, BJ. That last show, that last day of work before the long-awaited vacay. It's tough to top. BJ, we welcome you on this Friday like I do every week at this time. And we had an interesting conversation, Bob and I, last hour about the most intense, that's the word, intense position battle on the blue for a starting job or two this fall. What would you say? I went with corners. Bob went with receivers. Where's BJ Rains going?
Well, I didn't listen on purpose because I wanted to give my own opinion and not hear what you guys said on this. You can go a number of ways, but I think cornerback is probably one of the biggest ones. When you talk about 4 guys that all made at least 4 starts last season, and that doesn't even count, Jared Reed from Utah State, who I think is going to be in the mix. And so I think corner, you have, at least 4 or 5 guys that are in the mix for 2 spots. I think you feel pretty good about whoever comes out of that group, though. I think if you're just, having to be the betting favorite right now, you'd probably say Markel Reed and Caleb Biggers will be the 2 there. But I think that certainly that's going to be a very interesting battle. And I think, to a lesser extent, backup quarterback. I mean, who's going to be the number 2 quarterback behind Hank Bachmeier? And, if Hank Bachmeier were to go down, who comes in and plays? And, is there a scenario where Sam Vidlak's your number 2, but Taylon Green still plays, in terms of some goal line stuff or packages or things like that. So those are 2 spots I'm looking at. And I think guard, offensive line, it's not exactly a sexy spot to talk about, but one of Will Farah, Garrett Curran or Ben Dooley, who all started pretty much every game they were healthy last year, will not be starting this year. And Andy Avalos told me at Media Day, I think his exact quote was, that's what offensive line depth should be. And so I think that for once they finally have some depth and some competition along the offensive line. And I think I'm very intrigued to see who out of those 3 ends up starting up front.
BJ, Bob went with receivers, not because there's an empty cupboard, but there's just a lot of question marks there. After Static, who's going to take the reins? That's going to be intense. And do you think there might be an issue with worst case scenario that this offense overall has a lack of playmakers, guys who you can just give the ball to? They can make dudes miss and get those big splash plays. Now we know all the names and you can say what you think the order will be in, but for me, I look at all these guys and there's a big opportunity for several of these kids, right? To be a starting wide receiver. Right now, we only know for certain probably 1 starting wide receiver. I think all these other spots, BJ, are up for grabs, and this offense needs playmakers, Rains.
Yeah, I would think if you're a betting man right now, you could probably pencil in Davis Cutter as a starting wide receiver. And I think based on what we continue to hear, Austin Bolt's going to be a starter / major contributor at wide receiver. So, I mean, I'm not here. We don't know if Latrell Capels and Billy Bowens and all these guys are capable of being, stars or playmakers, or whatever. They just haven't played very much. So those guys could be those guys if they get a chance to get out there and play. And I think that will be an intriguing battle for kind of the 3, 4, 5 wide receiver spot. I think Davis Cutter has probably established himself a little bit above, and I think Austin Bolt as well. But yeah, I think receiver's a big one because even Steph Cobbs has a ton going on his shoes for a guy that's last year was his first real year as a major contributor, and he even missed time with an injury. So yeah, a lot of options at receiver. I think a lot of capable options. We just have to see who steps up, and I think I'll throw in running back too with the backup running back spot with Genty. I think he's a guy that could be a playmaker that could see some time in the slot, see some time on end arounds, things like that. But how does the Genty, Crow, Taquan Taylor, Tyler, 2, 3, 4 look like on the depth chart as well going into the season? I think that's an interesting battle.
BJ Range joining us from Bronco Nation News on our regular Friday segment at 4 o'clock every Friday, talking Boise State athletics. BJ, continuing with the theme that camp is opening coming up on Wednesday. I said I think that offensive line as a position group is going to be the most improved position group on the season. Would you agree with me, or do you got another position group you want to throw in there yourself?
Oh, I think offensive line has a chance, and I'm we all fall into this. We all get a position or a player or somebody where all offseason they get kind of hyped up, or they're the guy that we kind of fall in love with, and we maybe overhype them going into the season. But based on everything we've heard and based on what we heard at media days, I just the offensive line to me seems like a position that has a chance to just be a major contributor. And I also think we didn't maybe give as much credit to why how big of a deal them struggling last year caused to the rest of the offense. So yeah, when you get KHG back at center and you don't have Hank Bachmeier running for bad snaps and plays getting busted like they were last year, you get Beresford at the right side. I think the offensive line, again, we always say this going into the season, and then it seems like 5 games in they're struggling, but it really does seem like the offensive line this year, I agree with you, Bob, has a chance to be the group that just really takes that next step and is a major contributor this year.
BJ, what do you hear about the new concessions deal for Boise State athletics? What might be different about it for people that come to the stadium, or just in general? We've got the committee that met to try to improve game day atmosphere. So there are going to be some changes into Albertson Stadium this year.
Yeah, I really like what they're doing. I mean, you can go back to some of the previous announcements where they're going to have TVs now in the concourse by the concession stands. So if the lines are longer, you can at least see the game on TV while you're waiting in line. I think that's going to help. They're doing some things to try to make the lines smaller, as they announced earlier this week, with some beverage-only ordering stands, some quick grab-and-go options. And then they're trying a new mobile ordering system where you can order on your phone, potentially have the food ready for pickup. So you just go up there and show your order in your phone and pick it up that way. To speed things up. The beverage only lines, I think, are gonna help. And on the east side of the stadium, they're really doing a lot over there as well with a new local brewery patio. They're gonna have some new local breweries and things up there, and then they're gonna have some new food trucks and adult beverage kiosks over on the east side to try to spread things out. So it is what it is. The concourse is not wide enough. It's congested. The restrooms aren't great. I mean, there's a lot of issues around the main concourse of the stadium, which, frankly, unless you build a new stadium, are not going to fully go away. But they're trying to do what they can. Add some kiosks, add some beer stands, do the mobile ordering. They're trying to, new signs up, new signage, things like that. They're doing what they can to spruce it up the best they can until they can, get to this huge renovation as part of the What's Next initiative and the whole Olympic Village and all that.
I love it. BJ Rains, Bronco Nation News. We do this every single Friday. Subscribe to all the BNN channels as well as you do KTIK. We're loving our partnership over there with BJ. And, camp starts on Wednesday, BJ, but you guys are going to get a chance to talk to the assistant coaches on Monday, I believe it is. Give me a position coach that you're looking forward to talking to and why.
Well, I mean, the easy answer probably is Tim Keene for some of the reasons we just talked about with the offensive line. And, he was a guy that came in as a first-year guy and got some criticism last year, coming from UC Davis, taking a step up. But that group should be a lot better this year. I think DeMario, over at the corner position, I think is going to be big, talking to him about the battle there. And first-year cornerback coach, was the head coach at Southern Utah, comes over and is a guy that all of a sudden inherits one of the biggest battles at camp. And so I think that's going to be an interesting one. I'm curious how the whole nickel safety thing with Tyreek Jones and moving, Shale and Depot back with Rodney Robinson competing there at safety. So I guess talking to Kane Ione about that decision and how that's going to work at safety. I mean, you could make a case and, for why each coach is important. And we're going to do that. I mean, Matt Miller talking about receiver and having to replace all the guys there that they have to replace. And so every position, I think, and I like how they're doing it this year, is kind of a nerdy media thing where you get Andy Avalos and then you get the 30 minutes with Plow, the 30 minutes with Danielson, and then the breakout sessions are with the assistant coaches. So I think we're going to have more time to go one-on-one with all these coaches and get plenty of content and stuff. And I think we're going to get a chance to get more of our questions answered as we move forward on Monday.
BJ, what are you looking forward to most about this season?
I think just year 2 of Andy Avalos, and you were down there at Media Days, Bob. Andy just seemed a little more relaxed, a little more like he knew the drill. I know we were all at a new hotel, so you didn't really know where you were going at the Media Days, but he just seemed a little more confident, a little more used to how all this works and going. And so I really do think that some of the coaching changes that he made to the staff, just his familiarity with things. I mean, even the little stuff like before the game, having to do the meeting with the referee and stuff that just you don't think about as a head coach. And I think he just has a much better idea of what's going on. So I just kind of want to observe Andy Avalos in practice, just observe him in the interview sessions and just see if he is as relaxed and maybe as more confident or more comfortable, I guess I should say, as he appears, in the offseason to be. And so the start of a new season, Bob. I mean, every team, even my Kansas Jayhawks could, are alive for a title here. I mean, it's just the way it goes. Everybody's team has a chance for the most part. It's a new season. And I really do, for Boise State fans, think this is going to be an exciting season. I'm pretty bullish on this team. I think they have a chance to win a lot of games and get to a real nice bowl game. Would love to get down there to SoFi Stadium for the LA Bowl if they could win the conference. So I'm just excited. Always love a fresh start, fresh season. And I think there's a lot of intriguing storylines with this team. And I think it's just the first week of practice, the grind for our jobs of 7, 8, 9 months straight. It's just it's a lot of fun, man. It's been a long summer, it seems like, but it does seem like at times it went by pretty fast, and it's pretty exciting that football season's here.
BJ, have you done anything as far as homework on Oregon State yet? Me and Bob opened the show. They were picked 5th in the Pac-12. I mean, an upper half Pac-12 team. Bob's like, I don't know if that's Oregon State good or the Pac-12 is just tremendously down this season, but that I don't know if everybody gets the feel of how important I think it is for Oregon State and Boise State to win that game. It's going to be a half-empty stadium. The fans are only going to be on one side of the stadium, and then in the end zones, I would imagine. It's going to have a weird optic to it. Here we are about a month or so away, BJ. That's a big one, too. Starting out 1-0, and that hasn't happened very often around here.
No, and everybody saw in the bowl game, obviously, Utah State, beat them by double digits to end last season. So I think a lot of people just kind of wrote them off as a, mid-level 6-6 type Pac-12 team. But no, I agree with you. And we'll start to dive into them more as we move forward. But, Jonathan Smith is doing some things there, and I think they have some intriguing skill position players returning, and I think that's a monster game. And I've seen anywhere from 4 to 5 points that Oregon State is favored in Las Vegas to start this out. But as we've talked about, Johnny, on the Bronco Nation News Morning Show, I think if you start out 1-0, you're basically starting out 4-0. I mean, I think it's a huge – I think this team should be 3-1 at worst after 4 games. None of the other 3 games, whether it be UTEP, New Mexico, or UT Martin, really worry me. So I think the first win potentially it means more than one win. It means getting you 4-0, probably getting you in the top 25. It's just a monster opening game. And it's Oregon State. It's not Oregon. I mean, I get it, but there's a lot on the line. And the first game really sets the tone and says a lot about the direction of your season. If they can win this game, as I said, get some momentum, get to 4-0 before those 2 big home games against San Diego State and Fresno State, I think you have the makings of what could start to be a big momentum and a real special season here.
I think when you look at the schedule, BJ, it certainly sets up well for Boise State, especially if you get the first one. You've got those 2 games back-to-back, both at home against the West's best teams.
Yeah.
And then you've got a bye week, if I'm not mistaken, going before Air Force, which is, I think, a nice spot to have it.
No doubt about it. The
Yeah.
schedule, as we've talked about, is much easier this year, and all the tough games other than Oregon State and potentially Air Force seem to be at home. You mentioned the bye. That's nice. But again, they lost 3 home games last year in a row for the first time in 25 years. So we can no longer just, pencil in 6-0 at home. There's some tough games, and they're going to have to play well. But if they do take care of business at home, I see no reason why this isn't a 10 or 11 win team this year.
Hey, BJ, we're jumping to baseball with Bob next on Idaho Sports Talk.
Did my Cardinals get Juan Soto yet?
That was my question. Bob's going to tell us the Soto breakdown. Do the Cardinals have a good enough package?
Well, your Mariners are going for him too, aren't they?
I know, yes.
I'm kind of conflicted. I heard Shohei Ohtani might be available. I mean, if that's the case, I'd rather go for him than Soto, even though you have him for a less year. So, yeah, we've reached that point, guys, where I already don't leave my phone very often, but now every 15, 20 seconds, I'm having to research Soto and Cardinals on Twitter and see what's out there. But, yeah, love this time of year, love the trade deadline. And, yeah, it's interesting that your Mariners and my Cardinals might be battling for a player. I'm just waiting for Bob's Giants to sell so we can take Carlos Rodon off their hands.
Well, what do you want to give us?
Yeah, we don't need the GMs. The fans can just make the deals right here for you.
Yeah, I always worry when the deadline comes up and you hear your team makes a trade.
Yeah.
You don't want to give away the farm and you want everything back in return. And more times than not, you're disappointed with what your team's done.
Do you have iced tea there, Bob?
Yes, I do.
We had a comment because we're on video here. Someone asked you how the iced tea
It's good.
was.
It's very good.
Evian water never fails, BJ. Pay $4. What are you drinking? A Rockstar energy drink?
Yeah.
Nice, man. BJ, enjoy your final weekend without covering football, I guess. Live.
I'm going to the Blue tonight. I'm taking my 5-year-old. They got the movie on the Blue tonight with the Sandlot. So I'm going to go on the Blue tonight and watch the Sandlot with my 5-year-old. And it's no better way to spend the Friday night before camp starts.
If you guys are listening, find BJ, take a picture with him, and throw it on Twitter and tag me in it. I want to see this. Let's attack BJ Rain.
I'll take the pictures, but I'm not going to sign tonight, guys. Let's just stick with the pictures.
BJ, enjoy the weekend, man. I know you're excited as anybody for camp to begin next week. Next time we do this, BJ, we'll have a lot more to talk about. It's going to be killer. Thanks, bud.
Yeah, have a good vacation, man. And Bob, you and me will do it next Friday, I guess. So looking forward to it.
Oh, beautiful.
Is that the team a week from today? It's BJ and Bob on Idaho Sports Talk. All right. You guys take care
Appreciate
of
it, guys.
Take care of my show, BJ. Let's go.
Appreciate it.
That's BJ Rains. Where is Juan Soto going to go? And holy smokes, is a Shohei Ohtani going to get flipped this weekend? Bob has the answers in Spaceball with Bob. He's in for Prater today, and it's next